And welcome back to my channel, unless you're new here. And then just welcome, my name is Rusty. And this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And we are going to move on now to the sadness, which I am so glad to finally have. I got this Blu-ray 4K combo that also came with this really cool little comic book and storyboards and all kind of stuff. It's very cool. I'm very, very glad to have this. Heard about it so much. And I tried to limit, what I heard about it, because I knew sometimes, some way I would find it and be able to get it. But it was released in 2021. Yes. It was directed by Jabbaz, written by Jabbaz, and stars Berant Zhu, Regina Lei, and Ying-Ru Chen. Wonder if he's the incel. That incel guy really gets on my nerves. As usual, in these kind of movies, I have to give them nicknames. I'm good with Slavic names, Bosnian, Russian, and stuff like that. But Oriental, Asian, I'm not good with it. But luckily our heroes, or our two main protagonists, are kind of, it's Jim and Cat. So we can handle Jim and Cat. So, like I said, it was released in 2021. This movie is about Jim and Cat. They are a young couple in Taiwan. And they seem to be very happy. They're a nice little couple. They get up one morning to go to work. Now, for the past year, there has been a kind of very light symptom, sort of like a cold virus called the Alvin virus. And up until now, the symptoms have been very mild, and you see Jim watching a video of an interview with some doctor who is like going, this thing has like qualities that this virus has got qualities that are similar to rabies, and although it's not doing nothing now, I think it will. And these dormant rabid-like genes are going to do something. And and everybody's like, oh, it's been this thing has been going for a year and nobody's even died from it. It's not a thing. It's just a little cold virus kind of thing. Well, not today. So the first thing that Jim notices, they're getting ready for work, and his neighbor comes out and talks to him and seems to have a little cold. He also sees some weird woman right over there, on a rooftop acting weird, and he tries to pay it no attention. And then we see them like going off to work on their scooter, and they pass by a crime scene where you see a lot of blood and family members yelling, and even though it was underneath a sheet, obviously a very, very bloody individual underneath it. And he goes on and he drops her off from work, and then he comes back, and on his way back he notices that the cop car is still sitting there, but all four doors are open and everybody is gone. The ambulance is gone there and everybody's gone. He goes on to his local cafe and get a cup of coffee. And while he's there, that old woman from that roof walks in. And when she does, these two guys notice her that are closest to her. And one of them points at her. He gets up and tries to ask her, is she okay? She like vomits in his face, which I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to do that shit, are we? Okay, all right. I'm seeing the escalation here of this film, and he turns very, very quickly. She attacks the cook and like pours hot grease on his head and rips his face off. And I'm like, wow. So this is going to be one of those. And Jim, of course, is like, what the fuck? And he runs out. So this virus has mutated in the last couple of days, and it is spreading like wildfire. Especially to anyone who already had it. It, like, activated. So he runs out there, and everybody is after him. The gore is spectacular in this movie, in its extremity. And I also read this is an all practical movie. There's no CGI in this movie, which it definitely shows, because the gore in this movie looks way, way too real. And that's because it's all practical effects. So that was kind of interesting little tidbit I learned after watching it, you know, and I'm like, really? No CGI? Huh. Okay. So, now they're separated, right? She's on a I want to start to call it a tube, but she's on the train, and there's this guy sitting by her, right? And he's like, I see you all the time. He's like, you know, early elderly, you know, like, I don't know. I'm not really good at age, but he's an older guy. And he's like complimenting her, and she's like, kind of like, leave me alone, you know, but he kind of gets more and more fresh, you know, calling her beautiful. And she's like, I told you to leave me alone or I'm going to call the cops. Well, he just goes on this incel rant, and I call him the incel because if you've ever heard of them, you know, the incels, they rant in a particular way about a particular thing, and they have these particular talking points. And that's what he was doing. He was repeating every incel talking point that I'd ever heard about being nice and worthy, and you know, terrible females won't have nothing to do with them, and you know, they're all whores and incels. He did the entire incel playbook in like 3 minutes. And then someone turns right there in the car, and that is a bloody nightmare. And then that's where I got the first hint of the uniqueness and difference of this movie to any other zombie movie that I am aware of. I don't know if they did that in Night of the Living Dead. I know that there was overt sexuality in it, but it was before she became a vampire. I mean, a zombie. But anyway, this scene is so like outrageously gory and bloody, like every scene in this movie. It is definitely a splatter film. It's definitely a gore film. It's definitely just way over the top, but in an appropriate way to be fucking a masterpiece of a zombie film. So it's during this scene that, you know, that this guy, he had like stabbed another guy like several times, and he then like unbuttoned his pants and was pulling his pants down, and I'm like, what? What? Wait a second. He's a zombie. It's like, he's a horny zombie? I don't recall seeing horny zombies before. So I'm like, is he this? What? So we have that scene, and now she's running. They finally get out. The girl that she was sitting by her, the large girl, Rumi, as Hannibal Lecter called her. Was she a large girl? Was she roomy? Yeah, you could move in, because that's how big this girl was. But I think her name was Molly. That's who it was. So they managed to get out of that car, and that incel dude, he is like following them, because he's turned now too, right? He's turned as well. So we have this chase scene where the zombies out, and they run into Yakuza Boy, is what I call him. This big muscle, gangstery looking Yakuza. And he turns around and tries to be a smartass to the incel. And the incel, bites his nose off and axes him in the head. And meanwhile, we're, of course, watching Jim. Now, Jim's side of the story, he's slowly trying to make it through the city because he's trying to find her, trying to get to wherever she might be, her job, but he doesn't know where. And you see some of the most outrageous, gory stuff. The baby bat, the pram, the stroller, and obviously this baby had been eaten. I was like, really? Don't hold back. And then as he's coming around the corner, you see this naked guy, like he's screwing his victim while he eats him, or her. I couldn't really tell. I think it was a guy though. But in any event, you're like, let me stop and think a minute. I've got a healthy zombie collection. And I don't recall, maybe you can, if you know, let me know. But granted, I don't have a lot of the really cheapy ones, but I've got a pretty healthy 40 or 50 film zombie collection within my collection. All the big ones and a lot of the independent ones, from Wormwood to The Night Eats the World and all of that. And I just can't think of anyone in which the zombies not only kill and eat, but screw their victims while they're doing it. I don't recall that in any zombie movie, and it is a big part of this one. And I just don't recall that in any zombie movie. So that was very unique to me. And when the guy got after him, he saw him and then he stood up and ran after him with his little ass, as he's running down. And I was just like, I've never seen this before. I've just never seen horny zombies, horny cannibal. They're like the zombies from 28 Days Later. They look similar. It's a rage virus, but they're screwing like crazy. That's their main objective is to kill you, eat you, kill you, screw you, and eat you at all the same time. And I've never seen that before. So as he's doing that, we're sort of parallel following their stories. She finally makes it with Molly to the outer area of the emergency room in hospital, and we have some cool scenes there, even a couple of funny ones with the little brat boy that she takes his phone. She finally is able to get a hold of Jim, and this is right after Jim had one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, and that is where these 4 teenagers are torturing this guy in a little basketball court. And they're torturing him, and Jim's watching and scared to move. And they grab the guy and it's oh, I know what we can do. And they grab the guy and he's got nothing but his undies, right? And they wrap a pole with barbed wire and then they grab him, hold him up, spread his legs, and then they run into the barbed wire pole with his crotch. And you're like, well, that's gotta sting a little bit. And Jim had enough, right? So Jim actually is gonna be John Wick, and he comes out and he fucking runs them off and gives them a few hits and all. And they run off. And he reaches down and he tries to help this guy and he turns him over. And you can immediately tell the guy's infected. So he backs up for a second And the guy is like, why did you do that? Why did you stop them? And he's like, ugh. And the guy's like, why did you stop them? I was just about to bust a nut. Or bust my load. Yeah, that's what he said. I was just about to bust my load. And I was like, see? So I'm like, wow, man, okay. Where did this come from? Like this is so unique. You know, I've just never, I guess no other zombie producer or film screenwriter has thought of adding rape and sexuality into the virus or the behavior of the zombies. Cause I don't recall seeing that before, you know. So that was a very intense scene. He manages to get away and he's on, you know, on his own. And she manages to get a phone and contacts him and lets him know that she is at hospital. So he's going to go, you know, he's like, I'll be there soon. We switch back to her and things are just too much. You know, that damn incel guy, he has like been like, he's like a heat-seeking missile to this girl, Kat. And he's followed her there. The place gets overrun. She sees it coming, though, and takes off running. The little boy with the phone, he does too. And poor Molly is like sitting in the chair. And, you know, back at the train, he had poked her eye out with his umbrella. So she's sitting there in a wheelchair, and he comes around the corner, and the little phone boy is underneath the thing, and he's watching this. Kat, she has ran, and he's like, I remember you. He goes up there. I don't even know. Can you say it? He goes up there and takes the bandage off, and he screws the eye hole. And I'm like, who wrote this motherfucker? Because he needs therapy. I could not believe that. So Kat, she goes on up. Incel boy is still after her. After he finishes, the phone boy, he goes in there to, I guess, check on her. And as he walks by, you see what I never thought I would see. A zombie orgy. Like, there's like, I think it was like 6. And they were just in this bloody, it was just nothing but blood and naked. They were just naked zombies, bloody, and they were just all screwing each other. And it was like, I've not seen that either. It's like, exactly how much more can you show me that I have never seen in all the zombie films that I have seen? So he goes on past that, sneaks by them, and he goes into the room, and we see Molly like over the MRI person that was going to do the MRI, and she's like eating her and stuff, and turns around and sees him, and he tries to back up, but the orgy, they were all standing behind him, and then they all ripped him to shred, and she like cut his head open with a you know, whatever that little tiny saw is. She cut his head open with that, and I'm just like, yeah, jeez. So upstairs, Kat has you know, has managed to stay away so far, and then 2 lone zombies get after her and the incel, and she finally takes care of the incel. So she has this showdown with the incel where she finally finishes him off, and they may as well have just painted the whole hallway red, you know, I mean, because she like smashed his head to a bloody pulp with the extinguisher. And then those 2 get after her, And then all of a sudden, this doctor opens the door. And it's like he's in full hazmat, and he brings her in and closes the door. And then that's when he starts explaining that he isn't infected. And you realize that that was the doctor that Jim was watching on that video that was warning about this. That's who this was. So he makes her cuff herself to the shower and makes her take a shower in this disinfectant stuff and put on clothes, and then starts explaining that he knew this was going to happen, that this is what it does. And he kind of even explains the sexual part, you know, that murder and vile behavior and all of that is controlled by our limbic system, and that's what the virus attacks. So it also explains, you know, why this movie is called The Sadness is because the zombies are crying all the time. While they do what they do, they're crying. And he said that's because inside they know what they're doing. They know that it's extremely disgusting and wrong, but their limbic system has been taken over, and so they have no power at all to stop the disgusting things that they're doing. And that's why they're crying. That's why this movie is called The Sadness. Trivia for you. So there's nothing left but the sadness of knowing what you're doing and no way to stop it. Stop yourself from doing it. So he explains all of this. She manages to get the phone working again and lets Jim know where she's at up there. And we do see him make it to the hospital. But I will say I caught on, because when they did not show him from the shoulder up, instead they just showed him walking and he threw the phone down, I was like, he's dead. He turned. I don't know where he got infected. Probably from Mr. Bust My Load at the basketball court. That's probably where he got infected. But, you know, I kind of figured he was infected. So he goes on up there, and after they did the test and all, that guy shot her. The doctor, he was going to take blood tests, but because she acted the fool when she found a baby, she found an infected baby in his thing. And I'm like, really? And then he kills the baby, you know. And because she acted silly about it, he didn't even bother to take blood. Instead, he just shot her with the virus. And it's like, if you turn, you're not immune. If you don't, then you are immune. And she didn't seem to turn, you know. So him and her try to sneak out. And as they're sneaking out, she notices, she's like, where is the axe that was sitting right here? The doctor gets half his foot cut off by one of those two, right? Remember the two that were pissed at the incel because he wouldn't open the door so they could get to her? So he cut half the doctor's foot off, and he slips and falls in the blood and all, and then he's like, help me up, because he ends up managing to shoot both of them. He had a 3D printed gun. He ended up shooting both of them. Him and her start to go away more, and then Jim shows up. And it's right then that they reveal that he is like completely infected, and it's like, this is what I'm going to do to you. And you're like, oh no. And so the doctor tries to shoot him, but the 3D printed gun blew up in his hand. So it's like, well, you know, I guess those things aren't perfect. So Jim manages to kill him ugly. She manages to get past him, though, with the keys and lock the gates. And she's sitting in front of him, so they're like separated by the gate. And then Jim tells her this disgusting display of, this is what I'm going to do to you. Please open the gate so that I can do it. And I'm like, imagine your person telling you this stuff. And she hears the copter up there. that was coming to pick up the doctor. She hears the copter, but like right before it, she's like really crying and stuff, and she runs up the stairs, and so it was kind of a fake out. It's like, is she crying because of her boyfriend, the things he's saying, and the fact that he's turned, because you would cry about that? Or is she crying because she was turned? She had turned. She ran up there as she jerked open the door and she walked out, and then you heard this massive gunfire, which answered your question. In those last moments before she ran up the stairs, she had turned, which is why she ran up the stairs like she did. And then the movie goes off with an image of Jim, because, she's gone, so he just turned around and leaned up against the wall, and it zoomed in on his face, and wicked, just wicked. And the movie goes off, and I'm like, that has got to be one of the best zombie films I've ever seen. Contagion, virus, zombie, infected, whatever you want to call it. I don't get picky about that. I don't care why you're a Zed. You're a Zed. So, yeah, I definitely gave this like a 9.4 out of 10. It was just a masterpiece. And very unique. Like I said, I never saw that combo. I've never seen that. And I would be interested if there isn't a cheap parody. I'm not talking about a parody. I'm saying, is there a Contagion zombie movie that has sexuality as one of its three main components like this one does? Kill, eat, rape. That's the focus of these zombies to every victim. As a matter of fact, when she had found the baby and the doctor explained that there were 8 babies up here and he didn't know what else to do but to see if they were immune and test them, that's what he said was, you don't understand. You think I'm a monster for killing these babies, but I can't get out with these babies. And if the Zeds got in here, they would F them and then eat them. So it was better for him to kill them. So yeah, it's one of the 3 main components of this, and I've never seen that. Horny zombies screwing. And I'm not talking about, like I said, some Shaun of the Dead or, no, not a parody, but a real zombie movie in which that kind of barbaric activity is part of the lore of that zombie movie. I don't recall seeing that, not even in something as wild as Wormwood, which is very bloody, very gory as well. But I've just not seen that in a zombie movie. And I thought that was very, never thought of that. That made things so much worse to have that as a component into it. I mean, it's bad enough for a Zed to kill you and eat you. But to kill you and eat you and screw you while they're doing it, that's just not cool. The other is bad enough. Why you got, adding that? But obviously this guy decided that I'm going to go there. And he did go there. And I fucking love the sadness. If you've ever seen it, let me know what you think. Did you know it was all practical? But yeah, I will see you in the next one in line. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. Always remember and never forget, you're a very special person no matter what anybody says to you. And I will see you very soon.